Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Chappell from BioCare Integrative Medicine. Thank you so much for joining us today. So today's webinar topic is going to be on daily habits that contribute to good gut health. So thank you very much for joining. This is a very common topic. I usually talk about gut health with most of my patients, if not all. It is part of our intake for our new patients. So I'm a big advocate. I'm always talking about just good gut health equals good overall health. But anyways, let's go ahead and dive in. So a little bit about my background for those of you that don't know me. So my name again is Dr. Vanessa Chappell. I embarked in the medical world through the Eastern medical route. I became a doctor of Oriental medicine, which I'm completely in love with. Afterwards, a couple of years into it, I went back to school and got my fellowship on anti-aging and functional medicine, which I got board certified for the anti-aging medical, which I'm completely obsessed about. I currently co-own two companies with my business partner. I own a clinic in Weston, Florida called BioCare Integrative Medicine, and also Strategic Health, which is a supplement line, which stay tuned, I have a lot. There's a lot of great things to share in the future about that. But anyways, let's go ahead and dive right in. So today's agenda, I prepared this PowerPoint slide with not so much wording and content. Nice pictures overall, but at the end of the day, I really there's so much to discuss and so much to say about gut health. And in this presentation, I'm really going to go based on just recommendations and things that I really think has worked with most of my patients, has worked for myself. I have gone through a hell of a journey with my digestive system. So I can kind of share and give you recommendations as the PowerPoint goes along. So I would highly recommend for you to have a paper and pen handy, or just have your phone on you and type a couple of bullet points, or you can go ahead and record the webinar. So whatever you choose. So anyway, the importance of health, we're going to talk a little bit about that, just kind of the general reason why we should even consider, gut health to be kind of one of our priorities on our day-to-day, health balance. We're going to go into managing stress, which is, I'm sure we all know it. It's just a reinforcement. But managing stress is a huge proponent of poor digestion and absorption. Moving forward with sleep. Sleep is another variable that most patients, more now than ever, I'm realizing tons of patients are coming in with suffering from insomnia and or inability to fall asleep or stay asleep. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Drinking water is it's hard to forget when we're so busy throughout the day. We forget to eat. I have patients that legitimately tell me, hey, I honestly just forgot to eat. Time just went by, and it was dinner time, and I completely forgot that I didn't have lunch. So really staying connected with your body. I always share that with my patients because we really need to have that mind and body connection. I'll go into mindful eating, and I'll talk a little bit about what that means. Exercise, big proponent of exercise for overall health, but specifically for digestion is extremely important. Supplements, and then we'll kind of go over a little bit of a summary, and I'll go over our BioCare Gut Detox program. It's been a very popular one at the clinic. Not for any patient. You don't necessarily have to be a physical patient coming into the physical space. But we are treating actually tons of patients from Texas. We're located in Florida, but I'll share a little bit about that at the very end. But anyway, that's exactly what we're going to be talking about. So let's go ahead into the next slide. So the importance of gut health is something that I'm sure a lot of us over the years, it's all over the news, it's all over the media, it's all over social media. If we're into any sort of health and trying to diet is always something that really comes into the forefront of overall health. We are what we eat. We continue hearing that. But the importance of health to me personally as a practitioner, as I'm treating and as I'm developing my practice and my experience, is it really comes with this mind, body, and spirit connection. When we are eating poorly, or we're not absorbing the food correctly, or we're deficient, or we're malnourished, all these three components of being a human will be affected. I'm a big believer in that. I feel that food, when you alter food, just a very subtle change in eating, you can significantly see a huge difference in your health. You can see a difference in your skin, the way you have your bowel movements, the quality of your bowel movements, the way you sleep, the way your cognition, how focused and how much more alert you are. So I'm a big believer that this is probably, I always say the two top things I'm always going to talk about with my patients, whether you're coming in for, back pain or neck pain or any other chief complaints. I'm going to speak and we're going to ask you, how is your diet? How's your gut? How's your digestion? How many bowel movements do you have? These are the questions that you want to hear from your practitioner when you come in and get a consultation. Whether you're coming in for a very, a small detail, like, hey, I'm having too many headaches lately. Your practitioner should automatically ask you, what's up with your gut? Are you digesting food well? Have you been eating something different? Let's do a diagnostic of your stool. That's not very common, unfortunately. They'll probably tell you, well, and they should also talk about stress, and that's another conversation, but there's a lot of questions to be asked. And if you ask the right questions, you're going to get the answer from, that I get from my patients, and you can always nail it to the digestion, either bloating or acid reflux or diarrhea or constipation. There's abdominal distension. There's so many things that you can really connect. And because you're having this indigestion, it could contribute to that quote unquote headache that the patient is coming in for. So I'm sure you get my drift here. And I mean, it's one of those things where when your stomach is not working properly and your digestive system is not working properly, you're not feeling well. You're not really in the moment. You're not as alert. And all of that will turn into perhaps maybe not in the right state of mind and mood, just not feeling up to it. It does kind of have a correlation. It does connect those three components, which is the mind, the body, and the spirit. So moving on to the next, managing stress is something that I wish I could have the magic pill and find a magic pill for this. And I really mean that when I say that, because I feel like a lot of patients come in and there's just this level of anxiety and stress. And it could be because of that specific day, nothing crazy, but it's been a buildup of that day. I might see this patient maybe at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's just been an accumulation of a lot of things that has happened that day, or something, personal that's going on, or whatever it is. But the stress will always be there. There's always going to be that mental and physical stress, by the way, which we'll talk about that in a little bit. But that mental, emotional stress we're taking and we're embarking a lot of responsibilities nowadays. If you look at today's society, we have a lot going on. We're waking up. We are unfortunately expected to be this perfect wife, perfect daughter, perfect mother, perfect employee, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we want to, show up giving 100% of us. So it's hard. It's hard to balance everything out. It happens to me. It happens to everyone that's human, that's in the human species. So stress is something that is not going anywhere. Now, where I come in and with my recommendations and with so many, so much science that proves to have not the answer, but perhaps something that could help you control and manipulate this emotion that comes over us when we're stressed. Unfortunately, the adrenals, the cortisol starts coming, and all this elevation and of all these hormones that are just terrible for us. This fight or flight, constant state where everything just becomes very constricted. What happens there is your peristalsis, which is actually your intestines moving to actually have a good bowel movement. There's probably some paralysis there. Maybe there's bad absorption. Maybe whatever it is, your gut will feel the stress. Not only your gut, your entire body will feel the stress, because we're talking about these hormones. These hormones are very systemically. They will affect every single organ, every part of your physiology, but most importantly, your intestines, your digestive system. So we've all heard the gut is often referred to as your second brain. I second that. I think that's on point 100%. When we're stressed out, we either, number one, some of us, depending on the individual, we overeat, or we don't eat, or we do eat while we're stressed out, and those levels of bad hormones, those cortisol levels are up there, and the adrenals are kicking in, and the adrenaline is there. You're not in the perfect environment to have a healthy digestion. There's absolutely no way. So I'm talking about the ability for your esophagus to receive the food, for you to chew properly, for you to receive the food in your stomach properly, and so forth and so forth and so forth. There's a whole process to it. So a couple of things that I wrote on this page here is things that I've actually done research. I do myself, and I'm saying I do all of these, guys, and it's funny because I tell patients, well, you can pick pick one or pick two, but I'm so obsessed with managing my stress. This is probably one of my priority things to do on a day-to-day basis. If I manage this, I'm ready to move forward and conquer the day. So a couple of them are walking. You can do just a nice walk around your block, or go to a park. You could carve out 15, 30 minutes of your day. And it's, they can call it walking meditation, but forget all that. You're walking, you're moving, your circulation's going. And there's something calming about walking. It could be with a friend, and you can kind of chat your way and kind of catch up, but there's something very calming to walking. And there's a lot of science behind it. So walking is a phenomenal, great start. Breathing exercises, I have tons of really good research on that. Like I said, at the very end of the webinar, if you guys want, reach out to me. I have tons of resources to share. But breathing exercises, there's so much out there to where you can, as a beginner, you can start, breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth, and the belly breath. I'm sure there's tons out there. Maybe even on YouTube you can find it. But whatever resonates with you, that's what works. But we tend to forget to breathe. We don't expand our lungs completely and really expand the diaphragm and exhale. We don't really do that. If you check in with whatever time you're watching this webinar right now, have you checked in on how many times have you taken a deep breath today? It's a good question. We may not be intentional about it because we're going. But I think that's exactly what we need to become, intentional. So breathing exercises are probably a very good start. Meditation, there's a lot of forms of meditation. If it's your jam, by all means, start. There's a lot out there. Again, reach out to me. I meditate twice a day. I absolutely would not go a day without it. Period. Point blank. I am a whole different person. I process things very different. I have a clear mind. And I do practice a lot of visualization as well. And then afterwards I journal, which is my number 6 here. I try to journal and kind of, figure out my thoughts on a piece of paper and pen, which is another really awesome way to connect with your thoughts and your stress. So reading is another one. Reading is a great kind of, let's not think about the moment. Let's kind of unwind a little bit. Coloring books is it's a good research, actually. I actually have tons of patients that I've been recommending this to lately, and they don't resonate with the meditation and whatnot. So I get them coloring books, and I gift them the coloring books. And I have 2 patients already that are really on, they're like, listen, I start coloring, and it's called adult coloring books. And I'm sure you can find them on Amazon or go on to, what is it? Barnes and Noble. I know that's where I found the one that I'm talking about, but there's tons out there. And when you start coloring, there's this focus, there's this one direction, there's this one moment that you're in. You're not thinking about anything else. You're not wondering, you're not thinking about what to do next. Oh my God, I have to pay the bills or go do groceries, nothing. It's your moment to kind of disappear with that coloring pencil or crayon and just coloring in that book. So there's this calming effect to it as well. Like I said, journaling, again, I can go off on a tangent with journaling. That's one of my biggest passions. I love journaling. And then there's also supplements, which we'll talk about a little bit, especially for gut at the very end. But supplements for stress. I personally love ashwagandha. I think it's a very, I know CBD is a big one out there. I'm not too sure about CBD. I won't lie to you. I have a lot of patients that are coming into the clinic that are friends or a family member or practitioner prescribed. But I'm a big fan of ashwagandha. I'm a big fan of chamomile tea, of lavender. I'm a big fan of HTP, of tryptophan. There's also this other one. There's a supplement called New Mood from Onnit, and it has such a great combination of different magnesium. It has tryptophan, 5-HTP. It has a great combination of those, and it's called New Mood. It's a really good supplement, and I've been using it with patients, and it's been working really nicely. But again, just as simple as an ashwagandha, a chamomile tea, something that's calming, lavender. There's a lot out there, but at the end of the day, it has to resonate with you. Your body and your physiology has to accept it. So anyway, managing stress, I don't want to go off on too much here, but probably, one of the most important ones too, if we manage this, somehow everything kind of falls into place little by little, because we have created room in our minds and in our hearts to really move forward with the next thing. When you're stressed, you just feel very overwhelmed all the time, so you don't feel like you have room for anything else. You know what I mean? So moving forward, so good quality sleep. So we have tons of good gadgets out there. I don't have it on me. I own the Oura ring. It is a ring where it is placed on my ring finger. I only use it for an evening just to really monitor my sleep. I'm a big nerd with that. I love to find, see what was my REM cycle, how much deep, how much light, how many hours or minutes I was awake. Personally, my oxygen, how much oxygen I had in my resting heart rate. So I like to kind of monitor all that, but sleep is essential. Having good quality sleep, being consistent with your sleep, having a sleep routine, going to bed, trying your very best. And it's hard. And I'm not saying it's an easy thing, but it's having a routine where even if it's an hour before, maybe from a Tuesday to a Wednesday and a Thursday, for the most part, people are fortunate enough to have kind of that routine, waking up, going to work, coming back, waking up, going to work, coming back at roughly around the same time. But not everybody has that luxury. So I myself don't have that luxury. I do work mornings and evenings depending on the day. But at the end of the day, I try to, when I'm ready to go to bed, I create my routine regardless of the time. So I unwind. Yeah, I usually shower with a nice hot shower. Before I use a lot of lavender. Of course, I love the smell of it. It's a trigger. It's a trigger for my melatonin release. I'm telling my brain, hey, I'm ready to go to sleep. I'm ready to relax. And I'm trying to communicate the rest of my body that has been wired up the entire time. One of my favorite little tricks to have a good quality sleep is having a journal session right before going to bed. It's liberating. And what I mean by that, I was the type of person, I've always been the type of person, being a type A, that I would wake up in the morning or I wake up in the middle of the night because I forgot something. I fundamentally, it was such an important thing and I completely forgot to call somebody or email somebody, or I need to do something and I cannot forget it, because if I forget it, there's going to be so many consequences afterwards. And we've all been there. Everybody's like just nodding their head right now. And where you'll wake up with like almost a little bit of a palpitations, if you will. You're like, oh my God, I completely forgot something. So it all depends. It all depends on the person, but something to really, really highly recommend is getting a little journal, doing a reflection of the day. You know, how did your day go? How did you feel? There's so many things you can journal. I mean, this is an endless amount of questions to ask. And just kind of a reflection. And you'll go off and you'll start writing and you won't stop. But it's nice to kind of unwind and reflect, open your calendar up, see what was accomplished today, see what wasn't accomplished, move it for the following day if you have any space. And it gives you this okay, I'm prepared. I'm being proactive instead of reactive. Automatically, your brain says, okay, I'm good. I'm ready for bed now. But going straight into bed while your brain is wired up, sometimes is very difficult. Of course, phone. The phone is probably the number one nowadays. The blue light, yes, it does have a blue light. You can take off the blue light, but you have either your TV, your laptop, and your phone. Can't live with it, can't live without it, right? It's one of those things. But be adamant about that. Just be strict, be disciplined, care enough about your sleep to not do it. Give yourself an hour, 30 minutes without that on your face and your eyes not being exposed to this, because this is legitimately a scientific proof. It will stop the release of your melatonin. So it slows it down. You want to be rested for the next day to really give 100% of yourself. And that's the goal all in all. Specifically with sleep, it ties into, I wrote down a couple notes here because, I mean, again, like I said, there's so much. But one of the things that they have realized is with sleep, you need to have a good circadian rhythm. Circadian rhythm is your physiological internal clock. So we have your physical, right? But then you have your internal. So I can be stuck in these four walls all day long without a watch, without my phone. And my physiology will know when the sun goes down and when my body begins to get tired and sleepy. So not knowing whether it's sun or it's a daylight or not outside. So your physiology, so we are connected to nature. So it's important to have that circadian rhythm, and not being able to have good quality sleep, it will reflect in your digestive system as well. Another variable with digestive is also try to see if you can have your last meal 2 hours before you're going to bed. Give your body some time to digest and not have that food in your belly while you're sleeping. Everything tends to slow down at night. Why do we think that every time we've ever had an injury, some sort of tummy ache or some sort of, a bruise or joint pain, or we fractured something, or we're recovering from a surgery and the stitches and whatever it is, for whatever reason, every time night hits, it's always going to scream a little louder. It's going to hurt a little more. It's going to be a little achier. It happens for women, most women that suffer from PMS and cramps. It tends to get a little worse at night. Everything tends to get a little worse at night because of circulation, and everything is just kind of quieting down and slowing down. The metabolism is not as quick, and it doesn't have the pep to its step as when you wake up in the morning and you're ready to take on the day. So think of that. So you're not going to be digesting food the same way that when you are during the day, because you're not in the right circadian rhythm, which is your internal clock. Okay, so food for thought. Your body goes into this dysbiosis, this imbalance when you're not getting sleep. This exhaustion is a real thing, guys. There's a lot of people that suffer from insomnia, and if you guys cannot sleep, please go out and seek help with, if you see you're taking supplements or whatever, go out and seek some help. Tryptophan is a big one for me. I love tryptophan. It is a very indirect approach to help releasing melatonin. Again, going back to 5-HTP, it does help you release your own melatonin as well. There's tons out there, but seek help and see what you can do, because getting quality sleep is important. I'm not suggesting to get on a medication, because unfortunately that is something that you're going to be dependent on, and that's definitely not my goal specifically for this webinar. Okay, so going into the next one. So drinking water. Speaking about water, let me take a little sip. So we're talking about digestion. So in here, I wish I could have brought it. I have it with me, but I didn't bring it. I wanted to show you. I usually, when I drink water, specifically at home, if I remember, I take it home with me. I take it to work. To work with me in my water bottle. But I usually do half of regular. I have a Berkey at home, so I have a very clean. Make sure it's filtered water. But I also have aloe vera. So I have aloe vera, 100%, no sugar added. Aloe vera mixed in here. So I have a little aloe vera. It doesn't taste like anything. There is a company called Lakewood that you can find in Publix and Whole Foods. It's phenomenal. It tastes honestly doesn't taste like anything, but they do have some lemon, ginger, and orange flavor, if I'm not mistaken. And you can mix it in your water. Aloe, guys, is phenomenal for your gut, to heal your gut, to clean your gut, to help you with bowel movements, to hydrate, for better absorption. It's phenomenal. It's really, really good. But anyway, drinking water alone, it doesn't have to be with anything in here. We are made of so much water, and we just need, especially with our gut, we need the ability to hydrate properly for our digestion to actually for our food to go through our digestion properly, to be able to create a healthy environment for our flora, which is our microbes and our organisms that are very much alive. Where 80% of our immune system is in our gut. 80%. That's a crazy number. But it's really important that we always create a nice, healthy environment in our gut. So a lot of water will help you with, having good bowel movements, to move the bowel movements. Not only is it going to help you with your gut, it's going to help you with just more clarity, with better sleep. You'll be surprised what H2O does. And being dehydrated, sometimes patients don't even realize they are. Oh, I'm not thirsty, they tell me. I don't drink water because I'm not thirsty. Or they're adamant about just the taste of water. I know it doesn't taste like much, but some people do think it doesn't taste like anything, therefore it's a bad taste. So they're very used to having something with taste and flavor. That's okay. There's a lot of things out there that we can come up with, but buy yourself a bottle of water, create that habit, that daily habit. That daily habit is so, so, so important, to create a habit of drinking water when you wake up in the morning. So have a glass of water, maybe even buy yourself a little decanter. That's what I have in my bedroom. A little decanter with a little cup that kind of closes the decanter. And when you wake up in the morning, you grab the cup of water, you fill it up, and that's the first thing that you take. When we wake up in the morning, the first visit and the first walk that we do in the morning is straight to the restroom to urinate. So we are dehydrating, we're expelling all this water and hydration out of our bodies. So now we need to replenish. We've been fasting for 7 to 8 hours, I hope. And the first thing you want to do is really introduce that very nutritious H2O into your body. It's going to help you with your gut, believe me. There's a lot of really good things that will help with specifically your gut and digestion, okay? So moving forward, mindful eating, I know this is one that I really wanted to talk about. Mindful eating there was a saying, I actually wrote it down, so that I heard one of my professors once said, our brain is a garden and the roots are nurtured by the food we eat. And that's extremely true. So the way that we perceive and the way that we are what we eat. If we eat anything that's harmful, that's inflammatory, that is going to cause disease, we're going to feel that. Our bodies are going to feel that. They're going to reject it, if you will. Our bodies will reject it by creating inflammation. Inflammation is a sign of rejection. And inflammation is disease, will lead to disease. So it's really a cascade effect if you really think about it. So when it comes to digestion and mindful eating, there's a couple things I wanted to go over. Of course, I can go off on a whole list of fruits and vegetables and types of meat and diets, and I'm not going to talk about all that because there is a lot to change, and we have to go over your underlying physiology, your microbiome. I would have to look at your digestive system. I would have to look at a lot of different variables for me to come and say, hey, listen, this is what you should eat and what you shouldn't eat. I think that we're at a point in medicine where every body is created equal. Every stomach, every intestines, every digestive system is completely different. So to generalize it, I did actually put down a couple of things, but this is more kind of a general thing that honestly, as more time goes by, it's really a universal thing that we should be doing. Now, drinking water is probably, I gave a full slide on water because it is the most important thing. But drinking a cup of bone broth is such a healing habit to create for your gut. So really having that mind, put it in your daily habits. Bone broth is pure collagen. It has a lot of great peptides. It has elastin. It has the ability to coat the intestines within and really seal and heal and help you begin re-inoculating all the flora that you've lost. So bone broth is one of the most ancient medicine, to be honest. The bone is made out of pure collagen, and it's just such a good broth to take. Nowadays, you can make them at home. I do have a great recipe if you are interested, but there's a lot of really good brands out there that you can buy bone broth. You have chicken bone broth, you have beef bone broth. If you are a vegetarian, just a vegetable bone broth would be good, but specifically here, I'm talking about the bone broth from the animal, and it tastes really good. Usually put it on a mug in the middle of the day. I'll squeeze a little bit of lemon, and then I sip on it like a tea. So very good. Increasing your fiber intake. Guys, we've heard this so many times. These are just, I'm reinforcing it over and over again. Fermented foods, sauerkraut, we know what ferments are. Kefirs are good kefirs out there. Reducing sugar is number one. Sugar should not even be in your diet. People always tell me, Doc, gluten or sugar? Sugar will always be the winner in my list. Sugar is probably the worst that you can have in your diet. And unfortunately now it's on everything. It's in our sauces, it's in our foods, it's in everything that's in a bag or it's in a carton. So you really have to be intentional with looking at the ingredients. Even on over-the-counter medication, if you guys go to CVS or Walgreens and you look at these medications, I promise you, it is insane. So reducing dairy as well, and then eating more healthy fats, olive oil, avocado oil. So again, you guys know what I'm talking about here. It's really creating these little switches, these little habits, these little day-to-day things. You're like, hey, instead of this, I'm going to do that. I'm going to eat this and I'm going to eat that. Now, when you eat is very, very important. So we got to look at the times that we're eating, that we're not eating too late. At least we're eating a couple of times a meal. I know intermittent fasting is very popular nowadays, but again, it does have to be suitable for the individual. So when you eat, what time you eat. So what we talked about, what are we eating? What time are you eating? And also, one thing I always talk to patients about, they look at me and they're like, well, I've never really thought about that. How do you eat? And that's where the mindful eating really comes into play here. How do you eat? Are you eating in front of a TV? Are you eating on a computer? Are you eating in the car rushing to work? Are you eating with a friend? Are you eating being intentional? Are you chewing? You have to chew your food. We swallow our food whole. We don't tend to really get the enzyme that we produce in our saliva to actually break down all this food for our esophagus to actually accept it, and it can go in the stomach. This poor little stomach of ours gets all these undigested food. Every part of our intestines has a whole different colony of flora and a whole different colony of bacteria. There's good and bad bacteria. But these bacteria are meant to help digest food, and sometimes these foods just come in whole and they just have to work extra hard. Looking at the acidic and the alkaline as well, you want to look into that. What does that mean? The alkaline, very acidic, these are proteins, so amino acid. These are amino acid chains that actually connect, and that's what forms all these proteins. A lot of protein creates a very acidic environment. So look into more alkaline foods. That will help your pH-based balance in your stomach, and that will help you digest your food well. So again, these are things that I recommend, and I'm just kind of going over because, again, I can be here for another 3 hours talking about it. But specifically for mindful eating is how you eat. Be conscious about that. Don't sit in front of a computer. Be maybe more intentional with the family. Maybe sitting in a table with the family, sharing a meal, and just kind of having a conversation about your day. So again, moving forward to the next slide. So with the mindful exercise, and I say mindful exercise is really looking at, again, the what, the when, and the how. I want you to be active. That's definitely a recommendation of mine. I want you to be active, honestly, every day, a little bit every day, sweating a little bit. Why not? On your recovery days, on your off days, do a little walking. It's a very subtle movement, but at the end of the day, do a little walking. Movement is life. Very, very important. When you work out is another variable. It could affect your sleep if you work out too late. So it's something to think about. Now, exercising does give you that physical stress. Remember that before I was talking about the more emotional stress? This will give you the physical stress. So because of your emotional and your just anxiety going up for the day, now you have your physical stress as well. When is your recovery time? When are we going to bring those hormones down? Now you have your physical, so you need recovery. Your recovery is, like I mentioned before, your meditation, your walking, your journal, your book coloring, whatever resonates with you. And then for your physical body, don't overdo it. I prefer the cross training. What that means, hey, let's do a little weightlifting on Monday. Let's do a little cardio on Tuesday. Let's do a little swimming on Wednesday. Let's do a little, maybe some Pilates, big fan of Pilates, and maybe yoga. Whatever it is, mix and match. Don't overexert yourself every single time you work out. Don't over push yourself every single time, because sometimes when we do have gut issues, when we have digestive issues, and you're predisposed to that, then it could definitely affect it, and it could compromise your digestion because we're pushing it too much, okay? So it will affect your digestion. So again, something to consider for just your daily habits overall. Natural supplements. So my supplements, my number one, of course, I'm sure you all know what I'm going to say. It's a pre and probiotic. I'm a big fan of this. You need to replenish the bacteria. We've all taken medication that will disturb our flora, all of our environment within our gut. So we need to replenish. Antibiotic is extremely dangerous as well for the flora in the gut. So you need to replenish. So with the probiotic, preferably in the morning would be the best on an empty stomach, maybe 15 minutes after. You want to drink a good amount of water, and then you can have your breakfast and your coffee, whatever you prefer. But make sure that you take your probiotics. Collagen powder is huge. Bone broth, like I mentioned before, is a really good addition to it. So collagen is fantastic. Collagen powder. There's tons of companies that are making it now. So a scoop of collagen, maybe 2 a day, would be great. It helps with sealing of your gut, the permeability of your gut, the absorption. You will thank me later, I promise. Now, L-glutamine is also a really good supplement to be taking for your intestinal lining. It really helps seal, protects, and again, helps you from the leaky gut, which is again the malabsorption. Zinc and then psyllium husk. Zinc is also a very good one for the gut, and then psyllium husk. This is a soluble and insoluble fiber. It helps with digestion. It helps you kind of really clean out the walls. It helps you with bowel movements. You want to be having 1 or 2 or 3 bowel movements a day. Everybody's very different. So don't, if you have 1 bowel movement a day, that's perfectly fine, but you need to have a good bowel movement every single day. And then you also want to know the quality of your bowel movement. You want it well formed. You want to feel completed. You don't want to have this abdominal pain or distension while you're having the bowel movement. So these are all these different variables. Pay attention to the burping, to the gas. If you have acid reflux, all these little things are telling you, hey, I'm not having proper digestion, okay? So these are the top supplements that I can go on a little details depending on what the patient has. It really depends because everybody is just so different. But honestly, these are my top supplements at the moment, okay? And then let's jump into, I'm running a little bit behind. The summary, like I mentioned, we went over the importance of the gut, the managing stress, we went over sleep, we went over drinking water, the diet, of course, mindful eating, exercise, supplements, and I mean, all of these are just really basic habits that it doesn't seem like rocket science, but, kind of changing all of this from one day to the next is going to be a little difficult, but I'm sure most of you are already doing this. Most of you, but sometimes we kind of start and then we stop and then we get back into the swing of our old habits. It's perfectly fine. I'm definitely, I go through that. We all go through that at the same time. So I'm actually going through that now with my sleeping routine. I need to get back into what I know best and works for me. But be very intentional in listening to your body. But try to incorporate as much of these every single day. And again, like I mentioned a couple of times throughout the webinar, just be very intentional. Now, the last thing I want to go over is the BioCure Gut Detox Program. Thank you for watching, by the way. I appreciate you kind of, going through the entire webinar. Again, like I said, I had so much to say. But specifically for our program, again, you can be anywhere in the world, really. We have a few patients that just were referred to us from California, believe it or not, and they're getting really good results with this program. But overall, just to give you a little step-by-step, if you have any information, if you have any questions, I'll give you the details on how to reach me. But the way that we do it is we do a full history. We do a full evaluation of your history. So of course, the patient consultation, kind of the typical, but we get a little more deep into the questioning of the patient. At that point, we'll decide really what exams we recommend. Now, on an overall scale, something that I personally do every single year, whether I have symptoms and or not, I do a comprehensive stool exam, which is a kit that I will have sent to your home. And you actually collect a sample of your stool and you send it to the laboratory, and they will test for everything in the stool, which when I get back the interpretation, it gives me so much information on, on the quality of your digestion, on, your diet, on if you have any blood in the stool. It's all in the actual results. That helps me really guide me and help me put together a really good regimen, a good treatment regimen for you. Along with the stool exam, we also do a food sensitivity test. Now, this is not an allergy test. This is a food sensitivity. It actually tests all the vegetables and fruits and nuts and all of that, whether it's cooked and or raw, which I love that aspect of it. And it'll give me back the results of what you are more sensitive to and or not. So it is such a beautiful result too. It's a really cool exam because you can visually see it on the result, that you are predisposed, you get more inflammation when you eat broccoli or whatever. Now, keep in mind that with this exam does not tell you, hey, I have to stop eating this broccoli or whatever is causing me inflammation. That's just telling me that you are not having the proper bacteria and the proper environment and the proper absorption. You're not absorbing it correctly and it's causing. So we have to kind of go in there, play detective, and find out how we're going to be able to eat these broccolis again. Because of course it has such nutritional value. But all in all, again, it's really playing detective. And then there's another one that's a micronutrient exam. Now, this is something, again, all sent to your house. The food sensitivity is also sent to your home, and it's sent with a phlebotomist. So a phlebotomist will go to your home along with the exam, and they'll take some blood work out, send it to a laboratory, and then once I receive the results, then we can go ahead and come together. Now, in collection with all these wonderful, beautiful diagnostic exams, we can put together a very, very tailored program for you. And this is where I really stress it. Don't listen to a brother, a sister, a family member, or a mom, or go to a doctor, do these diagnostic exams, stop taking or eating or dieting all these different diets. If you're having gut issues, if you're having irritable bowel syndrome, if you have anything that's been bothering you for a few months and or years, don't tolerate it. Try to find a place where they can really, collectively do all these diagnostic exams, all of them. The micronutrient exam really measures any deficiencies and or borderlines that you may have, vitamins and or minerals, which tells me that the absorption of this food. For instance, I have a lot of patients that say, man, I eat really well. I eat very, very good. And there are deficient in mostly every vitamin and or essential minerals. So that tells me you're not absorbing it because there's malabsorption. There's probably the permeability of your gut, what's going through your gut and what's not going through your gut. So we have to realize those things, and we have to understand I may not have maybe some symptoms, but there could be other symptoms like a headache, like joint pain, like maybe some reproductive issues, maybe your cramps or whatever it is. It all ties into your gut. I'm such a big believer in that. I see it every day. I treat it every day. So I'm very passionate about this. Anyway, so we'll call you back whenever we get the results, and then we'll do a full detox program. We'll put you in a very customized treatment plan for you. So if you have any questions, you can give us a call. You can give us a call at the number on the screen. You can call or text, and you can email us at info@getbiocare.com, visit our website, and then we also have the Instagram tag there as well. Now, guys, thank you so much for watching. I know that I went a couple of minutes above my time, but again, I have so much to talk about when it comes to the gut and the health of the gut. And I hope that something kind of resonated. Maybe you were able to pick a couple things. Maybe I just reminded you of something and you remember how when you were doing it, it felt so great. And you know what? Maybe in the next 24 hours, you're back on it. So hopefully if that did it, I've done my job here. So anyway, again, if you have any questions, reach out to us. Once again, thank you for watching. Dr. Chapo, thank you.